All right, let's get to the next clip. This one's called Schaub finally admits he can't attend UFC events. So he's gonna admit the truth. Let's see Brendan admit the truth here. Let's start it.
And was it worth it? In hindsight now, with antitrust lawsuit, they settled in the contract. Now it says fighters cannot come after the UFC for fighter pay anymore. The game is over. There's nothing we can do. There's no reason to bring it up. Was it worth it? I would say no. I can't attend UFC events.
Okay, so context here, he's talking about the class action lawsuit that some of the fighters did to see if the UFC was it was unfairly treating the fighters with their pay, and how the fighter pay hasn't changed, but in hindsight and based on all the documents, it did, right? And it increased significantly.
X, the MMA Fighters Association, posted this. It says, "We are pleased with the settlement and will disclose more when we file with the court in 45 to 60 days. We love all of these guys." The UFC released a statement via Kevin Iole. It says, "We are pleased to have reached an agreement to settle all claims asserted in both the Lee and Johnson class action lawsuits, bringing litigation to a close and benefiting all parties. The final terms of the settlement will be submitted to the court of approval." Luke Thomas says this settlement is bad news for PFL and ONE. Without regulatory intervention in the MMA industry, there is no chance for them or anyone else of international scale to compete. It's flatly not possible. How long they last is hard to say, but long-term prognosis is grim. Luke Thomas also posted this. It says, "That's that. Unless there's an Ali Act or union in MMA's future, both exceedingly unlikely, fighter pay will remain where it is." Mayhem Miller replied, "Disheartening." And Brendan Schaub says, "Huge victory for the UFC. Not sure what overall goal was for the fighters. At least it's something, but appears nothing will change moving forward."
And the thing about UFC, it's like an independent sport. It's not a team sport. So, the way that you barter or you like negotiate is based around how you are as a fighter. So it's kind of hard to unionize fighters, because then they're going to be like, "Hey, how is that guy getting paid more than I am, and I'm undefeated and he's a journeyman," right? Like that doesn't make any sense.
And I can't attend UFC. Was it worth it? I would say no. I can't attend UFC events. And I love the UFC.
But you don't want to go anyway, right?
I would go. It hurts my feelings.
All right.
I'm like the nerdy kid at prom that, didn't get a date. I'm like, I don't like the prom. I love the UFC. I bleed UFC. It's all I cover. One of the reasons I left Showtime is because they wanted me to cover Bellator. I went, I can't. They go, "We thought you liked MMA." I go, "I do, but only UFC." And one championship.
But that's a lie, though. He was on Bellator not Bellator, but Showtime.
Can't cover Bellator. Can't. Didn't want to. I have no passion for it.
Yeah, seeing you at a UFC event would be almost as rare as seeing, 4 shooting stars at once.
Dude, facts. What else you got?
So a lot of times when he speaks about UFC, like especially that clip of Brian attending the UFC, he got invited by Joe, and he's like, "Oh yeah, where you sit at? Where did you sit at? You probably didn't sit well. The best seats are here and here," because he's projecting that. He's like, "Man, I wish that I was there sitting where Brian was sitting, right?"
Good seats?
Sitting, well, I don't know. We were right behind Joe Rogan and Michael Bisping and John Anik. So I don't know if that's good.
It just depends. Can you see it great there?
That's a very good point.
Because listen, it's fun to sit cage side and Joseph Rogan's our buddy. You're behind him.
And then now he's like, yeah. All those times that I said I didn't like them or I don't want to go, it was all bullshit, because I just wanted to cover my feelings because I wasn't allowed because I was banned, or whatever that case might be. But I don't know what that has to do with. Was he part of the class action lawsuit? Let me check this out. Let me see if there's some of the comments. Yeah, so there's a guy here. Tedious Nipple Core says he pretends like he's part of the class action lawsuit, and that's why he can't attend. Yeah, I don't think he was. I remember seeing a lot of names, and I never saw his name there. I remember Kung Lee was there. Some of the old legends were there from like a long time ago, even way before Brendan was there. And so I was researching this a little bit more, on maybe if Brendan could be correct. I mean, a lot of people did get bunched up or get put in the class action lawsuit within the years that I guess they accepted. And it seems like Brendan does apply for that.
There were two class categories the fighters wanted granted, one being anyone who fought in the UFC during the period the suit covers, which is late 2010 to mid 2017, and the other being any fighter whose likeness was used during that same time. They got the first class and they were denied the second one, but it was the former, known as the bout class, that mattered more. So it wasn't exactly the outcome they wanted, but it's the second best, and it means that the plaintiffs can go forward seeking class damages, meaning if they win, all 1,200 plus fighters who meet those criteria would be due compensation.
But I don't think that would be a reason why the UFC would ban him. I think it's probably because he was very vocal at the time about the Reebok deal, and he wasn't happy because he wasn't getting sponsors.
As the Reebok deal was being rolled out, Brendan was one of its most vocal critics. When asked how the Reebok deal would compare to his previous earnings, Brendan claimed that he had made 6 figures in sponsorships for each of his last 6 fights. With the Reebok deal, he would have been losing at least 90% of his pay from sponsorships. Of course, this claim was dismissed by sentient beefsteak tomato Dana White. In a now deleted appearance on Off the Record, Dana tried to cast doubt on the legitimacy of the claim that Schaub was making 6 figures from sponsorships, but the financials were later confirmed by Joe Rogan.
Because the $100,000 you were making from sponsorships, which is 100% real and legit and certified and authenticated, proven.
Maybe that's something that he might be alluding to. I don't know. The reason probably is because he wouldn't be in the front row, right? Like the celebrity row, and he's not gonna get a good treatment from the UFC because Dana doesn't like him. Dana has said he's a piece, he's a dipshit.
Told Hamzat not to make weight because we weren't selling tickets. The fucking show was sold out going into that day of the weigh-ins. I don't know if Pat really said that, but if he did, he has to be the dumbest mother on the planet. I mean, you know how stupid you have to be to even think something like that, let alone say it publicly and act like you're serious. Anything else. If Pat really said that, it's holy shit. We might have to send him out to the clinic here, the brain clinic, get him checked out. Done with me?
I believe that was Brendan Schaub who said that.
It was what?
Brendan Schaub who made up that conspiracy.
Oh, it wasn't Pat Miletich?
I think so.
Oh, I apologize to Pat Miletich then. That makes sense.
And he talks a lot of shit about Dana too. And then he goes back to saying, no, we're actually cool, you know, but not really. So another lie by Brendan here.
Was it worth it? Was it?
But it's also somewhat of a he does have a bit of truth there, saying that I wish I could go, but I can't. Let me know what you guys think about this. Let's go to the next clip.